Yes, everyone was involved in one of these. I'm hoping everyone will have one in hand because this is what I'm going to read from the intro. Yes and no. Together passing by the dead bull on the heath, the two kiss and deny the quality of death. Parted they cannot touch. The pressure of strange knees shivers in two at such smell of mortality. But when the crowd is gone, they embrace out of reach of the tide in the sun on the crest-fallen beach. And very properly named, since like them skeptical we shall lie on earth and say that there is no more sea. Now, what I want to explain how this bit of poetry I integrate into my life, because I want you to be able to celebrate the poetry in your own life and integrate it and what it can mean to you. This poem I read in a periodical or something many years ago, and thought it might be by W.H. Auden. But what interested me and why I kept to this poem is that once I reflected it might be two males together passing by, it gave a new reading to the poem. And of course, central to my to the poems that I write, particularly sonnets, was the memorizing of some of Shakespeare's sonnets and realizing that those sonnets were for another man. So I'm interested in that reading. That's my engagement with this poem. I'm not saying if that's yours, and the poems I look at are going to go across 3 centuries. Eight, 9, 14, 25, 38, 46. I do not think that I can hold the day and let your being ever in me spend. The longings for you that each hour dismay, my searchings for your eyes do briefly tend. This night lime sulphur batters to a fray, my heart, as swimming into lakes I fend for swathes that fold beneath me upward splay, the tangles that in floating souls mend. The tangles that in floating souls mend. I'm going to repeat some of the lines, and I'll explain that in a moment. Near dawn your tender looks once more essay the sorrowings that new absence soon will tend, and stricken with youth's down, eyelashed obey those glances of time stolen you'll suspend. Thus myriads of glass lighten come to end, and daylight hopes you'll lie still in me rend. Now, this poem was written. I don't want to use the word written because for me, poems are heard. But it was in response to Tsai, that's Tsai, Tsai Ming Liang, a Malaysian Chinese auteur, as it were, yes, I would almost say playwright. auteur, and the film. Sorry, I'll get there. The title of the film was translated into English as "I Don't Want to Sleep Alone." If you watch this film, you will understand some of the strong feelings. There's a triangular relationship and so forth. But I particularly choose this poem because it has the favorite line of all of my poetry. The tangles that in floating souls mend. Surrender. There is a length of boyhood beach I'd like to paddle on, and seize your arm and pull you on, and watch the waves come in. We'll find July, and with the heat, and with the sand, the heat and fluffing dry, the grey expanse of reach on reach will take us carelessly. We'll kick away, we'll scour, we'll write our names in dragon trails. We'll gouge where ocean seeks the dunes. We'll dabble in surf's veil. We'll dabble in surf's veil. We'll go the way the sun comes down on us until the stream that eddies out in cuts and dots, the mud banks, then the sea. On our return, I'll send you on to play for agate stones, to watch, to find some driftwood jutting up from thighs of beachy comb. I'll watch you make of salt sea spume your seldom pleasure dome. This is my childhood. We went to the Pacific Ocean each year, and there on the coast of Washington State. And as I say this poem, and I'm saying these in the morning. I'm on a chi machine. Anyone know what a chi machine is? You lie on your back and you rest your heels on this. And it wobbles you back and forth like that. And for 15 minutes every morning, I am on my chi machine. It energizes you. Yeah. And so, and so I thought, well, I've got 15 minutes. I might just as well remember some poems. And these are the poems that I remember. And that particular poem causes me every morning the joy. I have that memory from my childhood. Your poetry can do this for you. Memorize some of your poems. Find parts of your day, maybe when you're ironing or something like that. Yes. Then yes. So that's surrender. I love the smell of your body, the charcoal hollows of your arms, the worlds of taste lingering beyond night expulsion, the lick of you, the cold, arched, longing, incomplete. I love the smell of your body, the shelters, the smolders, the bleeds. And of course, several of these poems are intimate poems, and this is for a boyfriend or lover or whatever word to be chosen of almost 20 years now. This is one of the poems for him. And now there are going to be some more sonnets, and this next sonnet is for him as well. And this next sonnet I've chosen. I wanted it because I performed it at Red 10, which was, Pinggg. That was the second home for Pinggg, and Pinggg was there for a long time at the Red 10, and Sal Khalifa was a wonderful dancer. He danced to this poem, and Jill Hand who's who played the drum, and all of those things I remember. Remove your cloth and lie down on the floor and nestle into night's dream coverlet. Unleash the hours with crusted honey lore that scraggles into longing's grind net. Arched hold as I with forearm hair explored your tempered and veloured brown ripplets. Your tempered and veloured brown ripplets. Now dowel as you probe and deeply gore, amassing flails to nurture gastric lips. That you might pump and play the rude bandor, rampaging me to strung your twaddle, and instead the pulsing pulsing do and blow. Breathless I forbear with gorged relent. Thus finger on fair spousal's telling breath, and strum on me your wanton castanet. Now a more recent sonnet. Death hath no dominions save presence, and so its faithful bargaining with our soul relies on lustful shiverings and abeyance, as we revolve at spinning doors patrolling. Those little debts upset our allegiance, not wanting pleasure undone or unwhole. And as we mounting twist sweet indulgence, we swallow joy as mounting spends its toll. It would be wrong to trail ambivalence when in our lust we weary past the poles, forgetting day will soon succumb to chance, despite our rage against dying light's control. Death's allocation spurs us on to dance, as we ecstatic mean the star pretends. I had over the winter. My energy is very different winter from this beautiful summer energy. And I had a platform relationship with somebody. In other words, it was a distant, it was utterly platonic. In you, dear friend, I have espousal life. I wed you, your eyes, my nuptial bliss, your eyes, my nuptial bliss. The ring that rings by heart is Constance' wife. The bed sheets of our joy prolong first kiss. So breathless was I first beholding you, nor sun nor stars could wield their fierce abyss. Though veil might later brief my love subdue, in truth was hiding my lust orifice. I beg forgiveness now for torment true, for cravings beyond cravings dire pursuits, for yearnings that they love would never do, but have they ever longed for eyes like this? Though in our marriage lives some joy from strife, still eyes are cutting through me with their knife. I've seen you, friend, Now, some of you know this already. This was the poem when I first received gentle touch from another man. First read into my 50s in a gay sauna, and it blew my mind. And that is where, when I think about a muse, that is what I go to, because that next day, I had a pencil and a pen, and I can feel now the graphite going right along there was an altered state. The muse was an altered state. I've seen you, friend. I've seen you with my heart. Its ornaments are sundered. I have let you play with me and tease my thoughts, a gentle hair upon my arms, and me display as if I faltered, lent upon you cannot, not at all succinct, no part of me is hallowed. And yet I hallow them. For in my heart there breathes the moment of our play, as if I, child, once more held out my hands in trust. As if I, child, once more held out my hands in trust. Take me with your heart. Unwind my tangled flesh. Unpick the web of strange confusion, for I would touch and touch again in a profusion each part of you, for it's in me. I've seen you, friend. I've seen you with my heart. That was the first poem where there was the muse. So I'm that's what it is. There was talk about first love. I had an early adolescent relationship, and so I remember this. There was talk about first love. The last time that you stayed in me, the grass was falling on. The trains that clumped along the rails beneath that coastal bluff. A bridge suspended to the sky went down to cross the bay, and boxcars could unwinding wheel a red caboose's sway. And boxcars could unwinding wheel a red caboose's sway. We tucked and nestled in the spears and let late summer's sun warm through our jeans and seize our loins before you rolled me down. You lay on me and tugged and thrust until you met my flesh, then worked your way into my hold as I lay strained and threshed. We heard another train go by, coming from the south, and as my buttocks rose to take, the sound took Hillside's mouth. Could I have known you'd never be again in me as then, and on that train would wither scans of you and fulsome men, I might have gathered tongues of grass and taunted you with them. I might have gathered tongues of grass and taunted you with them. Well, I no longer lived in a shared household which had a big garden, and one of the joys of that garden was that you could go out without any clothing on. Thank you for your naked disposition, Kevin. You could go out without any clothing on, and so this celebrates this because I love you. Will I naked go in rain? Imagine on a night that it's hot and you're waiting, and then suddenly there's this rain, and you can go out into the garden. And this is the rain. Will I naked go in rain? Dance in eyes a full warm night. Will I trail your would-be thoughts, mind-wing quiverings delight? When I trespass on soul gates, suddenly alert your shores. When I swallow down your longings, will be consummation's fall. when I falter in my hopes, crowd the storerooms of false care. When I stumble on moon thresholds, will I ejaculate despair? When I foot the yellow line, fly paper of the summer air, when I flock the jetsam rays, will I come to welcome's care? Then I naked go and rain, then I naked go and rain, dance in eyes of full warm night, then I trail your would-be thoughts, mind wing quivering to love. And now we'll go back to the 19th century. Tell all the truth, but tell it slant. Success in circuit lines. Too bright for our infirm delight. The truth's superb surprise. As lightning to the children eased, with explanation kind, the truth must dazzle gradually, or every man be blind. Emily Dickinson. Okay. I want to say, I love all of you dearly. I want you to find ways to bring I said to integrate. Maybe it's just because I was just 87, so you know. The horizon has a certain resonance for me, which it might not have for you, but. Think about, say some of your poems, memorize them, go through them. I found so much about my poems. I want to leave a few moments in case there are any questions from you. Does anyone want to ask a question about what I've said so far? Because you're most welcome to.
You then tell us why you repeated some of the lines.
Or,
you said you were going to tell us why you repeated some of the lines.
oh, why did I repeat some of those lines? Well, particularly the one line, the first line, the tangles that are floating. So that's to me that's the most profound line of poetry that's there. And the other ones that I repeated, isn't it magical, Jane? Isn't there something? Yes. You know, and I write. I mean, of course, I've learned to write down the lines and that kind of thing, and that I hear. And I always have, where is it here? I always have some card and a pen on me because I do not know when some line. Remember that the lines of poetry often they're one say, you know, it's not about an utterance, it's about a resistance. Lines of poetry defy in many instances the normal phrasings and that kind of thing. Something will catch and hold onto your mind. Write that down, and then when you're saying it later, if you memorize your poems or some of your poems and that kind of thing, there will those links will be there. Of course, I've already said last year when I had a wonderful invitation at at headliners, I've already said that, you know, there's a lot of poetry in my family background and that kind of thing. But I mean, it's all in all of you, because there are popular songs and that kind of thing. Well, there's poetry, you know, those songs are full of poetry, Carol.
Can you tell us why you're attracted to writing songs?
Why I am,
What's the attraction of sonnet?
oh, yes, thanks. Well, Shakespeare, first of all, I didn't start writing sonnets until quite late. I mean, the effusion of poetry. I've seen you, friend. I've seen you. That was 1993. I didn't start writing sonnets until about 2000. After I retired, I had a bit of time on my hands, and I was memorizing. I had before. Because that was partly my background, but I memorized some sonnets of Shakespeare, and of course, very important, and that's in the collection called Sonnets, one of my first illustrated collections. Is Mandy's? I think Mandy's not here any longer. Anyway, it has Mandy's images along with Mandy's images in it. That I have seen Angelic Conversations. How many of you know Jarman's Angelic Conversation? It was in the late 80s and very powerful. And Judi Dench is saying those, and that was part of my kind of coming out and growing as a person. So there was that in the background. But then I was memorizing these sonnets, and I expressed, you know, I tried some sonnets and so forth, and they got started. And well, of course, the sonnet form. What is came well, Petrarch was crucial in the 14th century, I think, 13th, 14th century. In Italian and that kind of thing. So it's a love pattern in form, and I got started, and I rather liked it, and I've continued. I've probably done about 200 sonnets now. I've done a lot of sonnets. Maybe that's an overestimate. Maybe it's not. No, I've done a lot. I've got a lot of sonnets to the ones to Andreas. One of them is the one I've seen in you, dear friend, and so forth. That's recent, and I've done over 60 sonnets to him. And then I've done all of the sequence with Satta Hashem, wonderful, quite extraordinary responses there. So I don't know if that explains. Have I explained why? For some reason, the rhythm of them and that kind of thing. But it goes back to me. It goes back. It's rooted in that Judi Dench, Angelic Conversations.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a quite extraordinary lifting.
Thank you.
Jackie?
I was going to say, she also did Shakespeare and all that. Judi Dench, didn't she? She did all of that. I was going to say, if you don't remember like me, you can always have an idea in your head, like a day out at the Bradgate unit. Think about where you are in your position. Then you can write it down, or you can just make it up as you go along. Because it could be even in a rap. You know, a rap could be poem, it could be what you believe in, what you stand up for. Or it could be just something that you want to write, something funny, something serious. Could be anything. So that's what I did tonight. Well, I had a idea a day out, and then it just went out. But it was a true story, but it was also as a rapping type of. But yes, you could write it down when you get the idea and then read it quick enough. But yeah.
Of course, I had that lovely tribute from Huseyin. That was very sweet. I hadn't expected him to say, but that Huseyin was part of a master's course, part of the master's course there at Coventry. And what I did, what I did at that time, and I hadn't got back into the poetry because once I started working at Coventry, then I didn't have so much space. So it was part of the time when I didn't have much. But you know what I did? The night before I had those students, and there was just a small group of students doing their master. I wrote poems. I wrote a kind of a poetic engagement with what we were going to talk about the next day. I don't know where that came from, but I did. So that was part of it. So and he's doing his wonderful poetry now. I'm not saying that I can account for that, but you know, there's that engagement, and when we're here, these events. Pinggg, what has happened here? Pinggg is, you know, this is beautiful effervescence. It's amongst all of us. And of course, I guess it's time for me to close really. But that's what I want. I want you to feel as if there's a way in which you, if you wish, that there's this beautiful land. There's this beautiful joy that you can have in your poems, and think about those poems. But once you have maybe some special meaning. Anyway, thanks for